Hello, good day. Before we're going to start our online learning today, I would like to remind you with few things. First, you have to be on time and make sure you are ready for class with a given schedule that you have. Second, when you're going to attend my class, make sure you have your notebook and your pen with you, because I want you to take down notes on everything that we're going to discuss and everything that we are going to learn with the lessons that you have on a specific period that we are going to study. Third, I need you also to take down notes, because I will not sign your clearance unless you have complete notes for midterm. Before midterm, I mean. Alright? So, every after class that we're going to have, I need you to take photo or take picture of your notes and send it to me in our line group. Alright? So that I will know if you really are taking down notes during classes that we're going to have. So I need you to be very observant. I need you to be very focused. Don't do anything. Don't play with your social media. I need your attention to be in our class. Alright? Now, on the first meeting that we're going to have in a week, we will have discussion. On the following day to that, we will have a quiz, or I will give a worksheet. So you better study and you have to pay attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, send me a message, and I will answer you right away. Alright, so I hope everything is clear to you. Okay, so today we're going to have, and we are going to study the following. Our lesson for today is about integers. Alright, about integers. Fractions, we will be learning fractions also. Decimals and percentages. These are basics of the number system. Okay, these are basics of the number system. Next, what is integer? Integer is a number composed of positive and negative. Alright, it is composed of positive and negative numbers. Now, positive is symbolizes with a plus sign, while negative is symbolizes with a minus sign. Positive and negative numbers are all integers. Alright? Are all integers. Integers are whole numbers. Okay, remember that one always. Integers are whole numbers that are either greater than 0 or lesser than 0. When you say greater than 0, it is positive. When it is less than 0, it is negative. For every positive integer, there is a negative integer. For example, if you have positive 1, there is also a corresponding negative number, which is negative 1. If you have negative 2, there is a corresponding number in positive side, which is positive 2. Now, positive number is indicated by a plus sign, as we review, and negative number is indicated by a minus sign. And that is what compose integers, positive and negative numbers. Now, although you don't have to include positive sign, so means to say when it is a positive number, you don't necessarily include the plus sign before the number, because it is a whole number. It is understood to be positive even if there is no plus sign on it. Okay? So although you don't have to include, you don't have, remember the word, include when it's positive sign. When you write positive numbers, you must always include negative sign when it is negative numbers. Once it is negative, always put a minus sign before every number. Now, I have here an example. If we have here, this is what we call a number line. Now, these values here are all positive numbers. Now, notice we are going to start with 0. Now 0, positive 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's either you are going to put plus or you just have to write 2. No need to put a positive sign. Positive numbers are bigger or greater or higher than 0. So these are numbers that is higher or bigger or have much more value than 0. Okay? So remember that one always. Next, what are negative numbers? Negative numbers are smaller than 0. So it is below 0. Okay, remember that one always. Negative are smaller number below 0. Negative numbers get smaller and smaller when it is farther from 0. So the sense that it is far greater away from 0, the value becomes very less. Yeah, the closer it is to 0, the value becomes great. But if it's far away from 0, the value becomes very less. Now, if we have here another set of number line. Now, this time it is in negative values. Now, notice 0 is here and it is moving to the left, and the signs are negative or a minus. All right, always include. All right, always include negative sign when you write negative numbers. Remember that one always. Next, we have here a number line composed of 0. We have here a number line. This one is a number line. Now, when you visualize a negative and positive numbers in a number line like this, it's too easy to figure out. Notice the numbers in between positive and negative is 0. 0 here is considered to be a neutral. Alright? 0 here are considered to be a neutral number. It's not positive, but it's not 0, but it is in between those two kinds of integers. Now, if you move numbers to the right, it becomes positive. Alright? When you move numbers to the left, it becomes negative. Now, in between that is a neutral number, which is 0. 0 is a unique distinction of being neither positive or negative. It separates positive numbers from negative ones. So it is in between. Alright? The number 0 is not positive nor it is negative, but it is in between the two. Next. Now, I hope you don't have any question with integers. Now, we will have basic fractions. Now, after integers, what are fractions? These are fractions represents a part of a whole. Remember that, all right? Fractions represent part of a whole. Because once you have a number line, all right? Once you have a number line, when you have 0 here, when you have 1, and you have negative 1. Question is, what is in between those numbers? Right? What are numbers in between those numbers? From 0 to 1 and 0 to negative 1. Now, this is where fractions comes in. So fraction is a part of the space in between 0 to 1 or any number. Alright? It's a part of a whole. That's why fractions here represents parts of a whole. That is a unique quantities that fall between whole numbers. So it is in between those numbers. Okay, that is where fraction comes in. When you slice, for example, we have a circle here. When you have a slice of cake, for example, this is a cake, into two, let's slice this one into 2 equal parts. Yes, 2 equal parts. And the fraction stands for, if this is a 1 circle cake and 1 you separate it into 2, this here becomes 1/2, the other side becomes 1/2. When you combine the two, this becomes equals to 1. Okay? Now you have to identify how we are going to learn fractions. Notice we have here 1 and we have here 2. The number here represents a top number. Top number is what we call a numerator. Now the bottom number here is called the denominator. So these are parts of a fraction. The top number is the numerator and the bottom number is called the denominator. Okay? And the line that separates the two is what we call a fractional bar. Okay? A fractional bar. So fraction is composed of two things, numerator and denominator. Now, fraction is also a part of a whole that is in between those numbers. Okay? That is how we call it. Next is, what are the types of fractions? Okay, there are three types of fraction. The first one is proper fraction. Once the numerator is less than the denominator. Okay, so the value in the numerator is less than. So therefore n is lesser than d. Okay, n is lesser than d. For example, all right, we have an example, 1/2. Notice numerator is 1 is lesser than 2. Okay, so that's why it becomes proper fraction. It's proper fraction. Next is if the numerator is greater than the denominator. So n is greater than the denominator. Let's have an example. Example will be 4/3. Notice 4 is greater than 3. So that's why it becomes improper fraction. Now, you can convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. Mixed numbers is composed of a whole number and a fractional number. For example, we have 1 and 1/3. Yeah, 1 and 1/3, or this is equals to 4/3. So means to say a 4/3 is equals to 1 and 1/3 because this becomes 3 times 1 plus 1. Yeah, 3 times 1, this one here, plus 1. That's how we compute improper, changing it to mixed numbers. So there are three types of fraction. Remember this, proper fraction, for which the numerator is lesser than the denominator. Next is the improper fraction, which is the numerator is greater than denominator. And when we convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. Those are the three types of fractions. Now, let's go now to the basic decimals. Now, what are decimals? Decimals, these are numbers coming from a fraction. Okay? Decimals are number coming off from a fraction. So when you divide a number, when you divide the numerator and the denominator, the result is not 100%, but most likely the result becomes decimal numbers. What are decimal numbers? These are numbers that in between numbers you can find a point. Right? You can find a point. So means to say, it is the result when you divide. All right? Decimals are results when you divide fraction. Okay, decimals are, these are results when you try to divide fractions. So what are the kinds of decimal? The first one is the decimal fraction. Decimal fraction is from the proper fraction. When you divide, for example, you have an example here, 5/10. When you divide it, it becomes 0.5, or it is in lowest term, it becomes 1/2. Okay, when you divide 16, all right, 16 divided by 1000, the result will be 0.016. Are examples of decimal fractions. Next is improper fraction, as we call it a mixed decimal. So mixed because there is already a whole number and a decimal number. All right, mixed because we have here already a side of the whole number and this one is in decimal part. Okay? We have here a whole number and the other side will be the decimal part. That's why improper fractions, the result will be a mixed decimal. Okay? When you divide an improper, means to say the numerator is greater than the denominator, the result will be a mixed decimal. There will be a whole number part plus a point and there is a decimal part. Now the third one is a combination of a whole number and a fractional whole number. We call it mixed decimal. Notice also that whole numbers are decimal. For example, 69 can also be written as 69.0 or 69 itself. So a whole number is a decimal number. Okay? A whole number is a decimal number. Next, percentages. Percentages is taken from fractions, the result of which is in decimal and it is divisible by 100. Okay? Divisible by 100. Because percents, alright, percent per se, percent means decimal or fraction. And percent means per 100. Remember that one. Percent means per 100. Think this should be divided by 100. For example, if you have 75%, it means what? 75% is equals to 0.75 because you are going to divide this by 100. Okay? Cancel the percent divided by 75 divided by 100. The result would be 0.75. Okay? So that is what percentage is all about. Now, let's have a quick example about percentage here. Calculate 25% of 80. Now, 25% of percent, 25, when you convert it, it becomes 25 over 100. Now, this is how we convert percent to fraction. So 25 over 100 times 80. Okay, because we're trying to get what is the 25% of 80. So times 80, the result will be 20. So means to say, how do we solve this? 25 times 80 divided by 100. So the result is 20. Alright, next is 15% of 200. Now 15% to fractional form is 15 over 100. So 15 over 100 times 200. So it becomes this one. When you try to divide this, alright, when you try to divide this 200 divided by 100 is equals to 2. That's why it becomes 2. So 15 times 2, there are 30 bad apples. Okay? Alright, now let's have a quick review. First, we learn about integers. Integers are located in a number line, and these are numbers that compose of positive, zero, and negative numbers. Positive numbers, these are numbers above zero, greater than zero, or higher than zero. It can be written with a plus sign before that or no sign at all. While negative numbers, these are numbers that's below or lesser than zero. And you always have to write a minus sign before every number to signify that it is negative. Okay? So those are the types of integers, the positive, zero, and a negative. Now, second, we discuss about fractions. Alright, fractions is a part of a whole, and fractions is composed of numerator and denominator. What is a numerator? Numerator is a number above, alright, or on the top of a fraction. And while denominator is the bottom number in a fractional form. Alright? Now, what are the types of fractions? The type of fractions are proper fractions, which is numerator is lesser than denominator. Improper fractions, for which numerator is greater than denominator, for which if you simplify improper fraction, the result will be the third type of fraction, which is a mixed number. It's composed of a whole number and a fractional part. Now, third, decimal. Decimal is the result when you try to divide fractions. Alright? When you try to divide fractions. And you can always see a small point in between numbers. Only one. Alright? So what are the types of decimal? The proper decimal, for which it is taken from. Alright? Taken from a proper fractions, for which it always starts with 0 point something, right? 0 point something. The next type of decimal is the improper, or we call it the mixed decimal. Mixed decimal because there is a whole number already before the decimal point and a decimal part. Like 1.2. There's a whole number 1, a decimal point, and a decimal part, which is 2. Alright? So, because of these things, mixed decimal is composed of whole number and a decimal part. Remember that one always. The fourth one that we have today is percentages. Percentages is derived from a fraction or a decimal, but it is always divided by based on 100. Alright? By 100. Because percent means per 100. Alright? Percent means per 100. So if you have trying to get the 25% of something, so it will be 25% over 100 times that something that you want to find. Okay? So don't forget those 4 things because they are very related to each other. Once you know what is your integers, then you know what is a fraction, you know decimal, you know percentages, everything is going to be easy. Now, after this video guys, I have attached again another set of worksheets for you to do, and I want you to submit it on time. I'll give you 10 minutes allowance after the time, and after that your work will be considered late. Okay? Don't forget to answer the worksheet. And once you open this video, don't forget to comment present for your attendance. Tomorrow I will give a quiz, so make sure you study your lesson. Again, have a good day guys. Thank you.